Welcome back to Hot Air with me, Joshua Robert. And today we're going to talk about something that every single solitary person on this planet struggles with at some point in their life, which is learning how to truly love yourself. How cute. We're going to get so deep today. Now I can feel it already, but before you roll your eyes and you think that this is just going to be one of those like episodes where it's just think positive, well, let me stop you. Stop yourself. This is not about pretending that you are confident every second of every day. This isn't toxic positivity, which is a thing. I know it was a thing, but that's a thing. This is not me telling you to stare in the mirror and repeat affirmations until you suddenly believe that you are Beyonce or something, which I mean, I do that, but I'm here for the affirmations in the mirror, but that's not what we're talking about today. Real self-love is so much more complicated than, those easy little one-stop shop fixes. So today we're going to break down why so many of us struggle with self-worth in the first place, how our inner critic lies to us like almost every single solitary day, the impossible beauty standards that we place upon ourselves, which is very important, especially within the LGBTQ plus community, and why comparison is quietly stealing our happiness. We're going to talk a little bit about how to stop constantly chasing the next milestone instead of enjoying the life that you are already living, which highly likely you've worked very hard for, and why the relationship you have with yourself is the foundation for every other relationship that you will ever have. So we're getting a little deeper than Beyonce affirmations in the bathroom mirror. But again, I don't want this just to be another podcast that you listen to and forget about by like, I don't know, lunchtime. So throughout today's episode, I'm going to be giving you practical exercises, challenges, mindset shifts. You know, I live for a mindset shift that you can actually start using ASAP. And my hope is that by the end of this conversation, you won't just feel inspired. You're going to leave or end this episode with some real tools that every once in a while you'll be like, oh, I remember Josh told me to do that. Maybe it'll help you be kinder to yourself, more present in your life, more confident in who you already are. And listen, it's hump day, okay? Never have I ever. I was really hard on myself actually earlier today, which is kind of interesting that this episode is falling on Wednesday because straight up with you, what am I in high school? Being straight up with you, proper grammar here. I went to the beach on Sunday and I got really drunk with my best friend Natalie. And Monday was like avoided, a day that I just voided. I stamped void. This day doesn't count. Like I was miserable. I wasn't even hung over. I was just had no emotion. I had nothing to give. And some days I record podcasts on Monday and they come out on a Tuesday. And then yesterday I was just like, I have nothing. I have nothing to give. So today is a Tuesday. I felt really guilty about it. I was like, you've never missed a single day, a single Tuesday of hot air since you started it a year and a bit ago. Like, what the hell? I was beating myself up. And then I was like, mindset shift. I haven't missed a single Tuesday. So for me to over a year to only miss one Tuesday and have an episode come out a day later, that's the silver lining here is that I've only missed one Tuesday, not you lazy bitch, you've only missed one Tuesday. Why would you even bother? So I kind of find it interesting that the theme and the topics of this episode also align with, the negative self-talk, your self-worth. We're back on that birthday train, back on the positivity. I'm always reflecting around my birthday time. And if you're aware, if you listened to a few episodes ago, my birthday is this month. So these episodes this month, with the exception of, any crazy political wild BS that we come across in the news that I feel like we need to talk about, most of these episodes are going to be very self-helpy. And with all that being said, if you're not following me already on Instagram and TikTok, you can follow me at _hotairpod. Visit my website, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com, to shop my merch, submit your listener stories, and topic suggestions. And I know everyone's going to think I'm crazy, but I have a second podcast that is coming out. Currently, it is monthly. This is way more of just a passion project, and it absolutely has nothing to do with Hot Air, although it is under the Hot Air network because I hope to keep growing Hot Air, maybe have some other hosts, other podcasters, just keep the Hot Air growing. And this one is called Screaming and it is a horror movie or horror podcast. So every month, I'm going to be talking about the newest horror movies that I've watched because I'm always on top of the horror movie news. Any new releases. Like in this first episode, we're talking a little bit about the Friday the 13th TV show that's coming out, the Carrie TV show that's coming out. I watched Evil Dead Burn and I watched Obsession. And so I'm talking about the plot lines, what I loved, what I didn't love. And I mean, the gays love horror. So I guess it kind of is in line with Hot Air. But I love horror and true crime. And I wanted to just get back to something that, not that this podcast weighs heavy on me, but I put a lot of time and effort and research and personal stuff into this, and it's kind of just an outlet. Screaming the podcast is kind of just an outlet to just not care so much, I guess, and just like talk about movies and TV shows. So anyway, that will be coming out highly likely this Friday. It's only going to be out once a month for now, unless, there's want and need for it. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Let's be nicer to ourselves. Let's celebrate ourselves, whether it's your birthday month or not. And let's hit it.
Hotair, hot takes therapy, no filter. Say what I mean. Hotair, let's be real. You're listening to Hot Air.
Part 1. Why we don't love ourselves. Okay, you know what I think is like kind of funny? Kind of. If I asked almost anyone listening to this podcast, if I asked you, do you think you deserve to be happy? Like 99.999% of people would probably say yes. But if I asked a different question, like, do you actually like yourself? Then suddenly a lot of people, maybe 50% of those people, will get really quiet because there is a very big difference between believing that you deserve happiness and then genuinely believing that you are enough exactly as you are, which helps you receive that happiness. So we live in this culture where we are constantly told to love yourself as you are, but nobody actually explains what that means or how to accomplish it. It's become one of those phrases that gets slapped onto a Pinterest quote beside a sunset or like, I don't know, printed on the side of a coffee mug. Maybe I should get a hot air one that says, love yourself. Like, great. Thank you, Susan. Wonderful. Super helpful. But like, how? What does that actually look like on a random Tuesday when you have spilled coffee on your shirt, the shirt that might say, love yourself? Your boss is annoying the hell out of you. Someone on Instagram just announced that they are buying a beachfront house at 26, and you're just like, what the hell? You're standing in front of your bathroom mirror, talking to yourself, telling yourself Beyonce, but also wondering if you've always had that wrinkle right between your eyebrows or if it just appeared overnight and if you'll ever amount to anything. Like, been there, done that. One of the biggest myths that we have ever been sold is that self-love is a feeling. And I don't think it is. Self-love isn't waking up every morning thinking you are the hottest person alive. Like, that would be great if it was. And I wish I could do that. It isn't looking in the mirror and seeing perfection. It isn't pretending that you're confident every second of every day. That simply is not confidence. That is a bit delulu. Okay. Real confidence is much quieter than that. It's looking at yourself honestly, like your flaws and all, and deciding that you are still worthy of kindness. And some days, like, I feel fantastic about myself. Other days, like Monday when I was hungover, I catch my reflection in the mirror and I'm like, you hideous beast. Like, what even are you? You're not even from this planet. Like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then suddenly I'm planning a funeral for my self-esteem. It's not fun. However, that is normal. Okay. Confidence isn't never doubting yourself. Confidence is refusing to let those doubts completely run your life. And I've alluded to this and like touched on this a little bit in other episodes. But what blows my mind is that nobody is actually born hating themselves. Like, when you think about that for a second, have you ever watched a little kid dance? They don't give a flying, I was gonna say a flying hoo-ha. I don't even know what that is. They don't care how crazy they look. They're just free. They don't care if anyone's watching. They'll wear rain boots and a superhero cape, sing at the top of their lungs in a grocery store, and somehow believe that they are the funniest person in the room, which let's face it, a child doing that really is the funniest in the room. Like, they don't wake up wondering if they're attractive enough or successful enough or whether their stomach looks flat in a bathing suit. They have not learned that yet, which means something incredibly important. If we are not born with self hatred, then somebody else taught it to us. And listen, before anyone starts blaming their parents, sometimes it's them, but let's be fair, okay? Sometimes it was parents, sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes it was the kid across the street who bullied you in middle school. Sometimes it was a teacher who made like a very offhand comment that just stuck with you for 20 some odd years. Sometimes it was religion. Sometimes it was a dating app, or sometimes it was an ex who somehow had the emotional intelligence of like a fucking folding chair. That's no intelligence, FYI. Sometimes it was social media. Sometimes it was advertising. Like, actually, let's spend a hot second on advertising, okay? Because that is where a lot of this really does come from, right? The beauty industry makes billions of dollars every single year, convincing perfectly normal people that something is wrong with them, that something is wrong with their appearance. And I've fallen into the trap before too. Somebody literally profits every time that you look in the mirror and decide that you're not enough, right? Like your wrinkles, they're a problem. Your gray hair, it's a problem. Your body, it's a problem. Your skin, it's a problem. Your age, huge problem. Here's some cream. Here's a pill. Here's a surgery. Here's a filter. We've somehow normalized the idea that existing as a human being is one long list of defects that are just waiting to be corrected. And I know that's a little rich coming from me, okay? Because I work out, I pay to have my face shot up. I have filler in my lips. I probably have some leftover filler somewhere else in my face. I got Botox in my face. Like, I get my hair cut often. Like, I fall into these traps. I only wear Lululemon athleisure clothes because I've fallen into the fucking trap. So I am guilty as charged, but first step is acknowledging it. Like, I do let my grays grow. I don't think I'll ever dye my hair. I think I'm gonna let myself become a salt and pepper daddy. Like, as long as that we don't go completely overboard and let the advertising ruin our lives, right? And on top of that, most of the advertising comes from social media. We know, like, don't even get me started. Instagram is basically everyone standing in a room yelling, "Look how amazing my life is." Again, guilty as charged, like very curated posts, okay? But like, we're all still secretly Googling how to stop comparing yourself to strangers. And that is also wildly fascinating. We scroll through hundreds of carefully curated moments every day and somehow convince ourselves that everyone else woke up looking flawless. They landed their dream job. They found the perfect, picture perfect relationship, meal prepped for the whole entire month. They trained for a marathon, drank enough water, and still had time to journal about gratitude before 8 o'clock in the morning. You know, those influencers. We see them posting their morning routines. I do love the ones that are spoofs and they're ridiculous. But those influencers that are like, I'm up at 4, I journal, I do this, I do that. That was probably one day and just for that video, honey. And then meanwhile, like, honestly, I'm over here, like, celebrating the fact that maybe, I don't know, I did my laundry or I remembered to unplug my iron before I went to work so my entire house didn't burn down. Like, that is success to me. Actually, what's success to me is that I don't have to walk back upstairs to my apartment to check that my iron is unplugged because I really focused in on it and made sure. But there's many days I get out of my car and I walk back up 3 flights to my apartment to make sure my iron is unplugged and I didn't even use it. But I don't want to burn my house down with my dog in it. Now, a big focus of this episode, of course, will be LGBTQ focused, and the queer community isn't immune to any of this. In fact, I think if we're being honest, we're like even worse, and it all makes sense, and it's okay. Like, hello, I'm gay, and I'm one of the worst, but we talk a lot about acceptance. I think we made incredible progress, but let's not pretend that there are not absolutely impossible standards floating around within the queer community that makes living way harder. You got to stay young, you got to stay fit, you got to stay funny, you got to stay successful, be fashionable, be sexually confident, but like not too confident. Also, you have to be masculine, but not toxic masculine, but like mask for mask. Be emotional, but not needy. You got to have abs, but also like eat some food, like have money, have a passport, have a dog, have a perfectly curated, beautiful apartment with an expensive espresso machine, which I was shopping for on Amazon the other day and I didn't buy, but it should be sitting on a marble countertop because apparently coffee tastes better when you're drinking it off of an expensive ass kitchen countertop. Whew, there is a lot to follow there. There's a lot to keep up with. And somewhere along the way, we stopped trying to become happy and we started trying to become impressive. And here's the thing, I wish somebody had told me most of this years ago. Most of the insecurities that you are carrying around are not actually yours. Mine aren't actually mine. They were handed to me. Somebody else decided what beautiful looked like. Somebody else decided what successful looked like. Somebody else decided what aging should feel like. And somebody else decided what your timeline was supposed to be. And then we just like laid down and took it. We accepted those rules without ever asking whether we really agreed to them or not. That's absolutely insane when you really think about it. Imagine you walk into a restaurant, letting the stranger at the table next to you order your dinner. Then you get upset because you don't like what they chose. It's exactly the same thing. That's basically what we do with our lives. We let society define success and beauty and happiness, relationships, careers, what everything should look like. And then we wonder why we constantly feel disconnected from ourselves and unhappy. And I just got full body chills, fully understanding that and saying it out loud with my motherfucking chest. Like, everything we know is what we are taught, and that includes the pressures we put on ourselves. But we can change them. We don't have to be that way. So, with all that being said, that was like a very Cliff Notes version of where did this bullshit all come from. But like, here is an exercise that I think would be really helpful and that I want you to do this week. So, it's not hopefully one of those cheesy exercises. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to stand in your living room with your eyes closed, screaming that you're a badass bitch at the top of your lungs until your neighbors call for a wellness check. That's not what we're doing. But what I do want you to do is, if you're not driving, or, save this in your mind for later, take out your phone, grab your notes app, grab a notebook if you're one of those organized people who uses beautiful stationery. That is not I. But I want you to write down or type out 5 things that you're insecure about. Okay. Don't overthink them. This is not a deep exercise right now. Just write them down. Then, beside each one, you are going to answer a simple question, which is, who taught me this? Not what, who. Was it Instagram? Was it your dad? Was it your ex? Was it high school? Was it Hollywood? Was it Grinder? Was it a magazine cover? Because I have a feeling you're going to discover something very interesting, that most of the things that you criticize about yourself, they did not originate with you. They were planted there by someone or something else. And if somebody else taught you to dislike yourself, then guess what? You can absolutely unlearn it. So, for example, my whole life, I've always thought I was too feminine. Always. That would be my insecurity, that I'm not masculine enough, right? That's something I'm insecure about. Um, Not quite as much anymore, but there's moments when I catch myself and I'm still becoming comfortable, just like me being me. And who taught me that? The bullies in high school. Also, who taught me that? Society, Also, who taught me that? Probably all of my male cousins and uncles, not knowingly, not intentionally, but I was brought up in a world where everyone played sports, hockey, baseball. They were rough, they were tall, they were broad, they were butch, and I was never masculine enough, even though I tried all of those things. So that's the very simple, kind of simple answer. Perhaps when I have therapy on Thursday, I'll talk about that stuff. But my insecurity is that I'm not masculine enough. Who taught me that? Bullies. Really, bullies. And that's it. Don't overthink it. That's the answer. We can get to the hoo-ha later. And then I can unlearn that. And that is where the real self love begins. Not by pretending that you're perfect, but by questioning whether you've been living by someone else's rules all along. Part 2, your inner voice is a liar. I want to ask you a question, and I genuinely want you to think about it for a second, okay? You can pause this episode, but who is the person you spend most time talking to every single day? Some people might say their partner, some might say their coworkers. Parents with little kids are probably thinking like, unfortunately, it's Bluey on friggin' TV, but the real answer is, what's the real answer? Well, it's yourself. From the moment you wake up until the moment you fall asleep, there's a conversation happening inside your head. The person you talk to most every day is you. How fucking cool is that? Every decision, every interaction, every success, every mistake, your brain has something to say about it. And the scary part is that most of us never stop to question the voice in our head and ask if it's actually telling the truth. Like we just assume that because we thought something, it must be real. But if there's one thing therapy taught me, and honestly, one of the most life changing lessons that I have ever learned, it's that your thoughts are not facts. And if anyone's been to therapy, their therapist has probably said that to them. Your thoughts are not facts. Like, read it again, say it again, speak it again. Your thoughts are not facts. It completely changed my life. Your thoughts are not facts. I used to think that every single thought that popped into my brain deserved my full attention. If I walked away from a conversation and my brain said, like, that was awkward, I would believe it. That happened a lot. If I sent someone a text and they did not respond for 3 hours, like my boyfriend who was just napping, my brain immediately became an award winning screenwriter and was like, well, they obviously hate you now. You've ruined their life or your friendship or relationship, and they probably took a screenshot of that text you sent and sent it to 12 people who are all laughing. They're all gonna laugh at you. We're all laughing at you in a group chat called People Josh Has Offended. Like literally, I used to, not as much anymore because my thoughts are not my facts. My feelings are not my facts either. Whatever, you know what I mean. Meanwhile, the other person that I text that maybe just didn't respond is napping or at Costco trying to decide between 36 pack of toilet paper or a 48 pack, and like they haven't looked at their phone. Like it's amazing how our brains can create these entire Netflix documentaries out of zero evidence. No evidence at all. My anxiety used to do this constantly. I would walk into a room, immediately assume everyone was judging me, every single solitary person. I'd teach a fitness class and people would clap and tell me they loved it and they would thank me after. And my brain would somehow, still does sometimes, find the one moment where I maybe stumbled over my words or made a joke that didn't land. That happens all the time. And then I would convince myself that everyone else is actually thinking that I'm a horrible instructor. Like, it's kind of funny when you think about it. Imagine hiring someone to narrate your life whose entire job was to point out everything that could possibly go wrong. Well, that is anxiety. That's what we hire anxiety to do. It's like having the world's most dramatic news anchor living in your head 24 hours a day, like breaking news. Josh just stumbled over a sentence, and experts believe his entire career is over, and he should probably just crawl into a ditch and die. Like, that's where my brain goes, okay? I accidentally said left instead of saying right. Like, we're going to survive this. I said, pick up your weight in your left hand versus your right hand. Like, whatever. Is it that deep? No. But the problem is that our brains aren't actually designed to make us happy, which is unfortunate. They are designed to keep us alive. Thousands of years ago, that was incredibly useful. If our ancestors heard something like rustling in the bush, the paranoid person survived because they assumed it was a lion or like something big. The overly relaxed person probably became lunch. They were eaten. Like, our brains evolved to constantly scan for danger. The problem is, most of us aren't running from lions anymore. We're running from emails. We're running from awkward conversations. We're running from Instagram comments, but our brains still respond like every uncomfortable situation in a life or death emergency. And that's why your heart races before a presentation. That's why you overthink one text message. That's why rejection can feel physically painful. Your brain doesn't know the difference between social rejection and actual danger. It's just trying to protect you. And the problem is that it's using a very outdated software. The world has evolved way faster than we could as humans. And here is where it gets. really sneaky. Sneaky, sneaky. Sorry, my voice. The more often you repeat a thought, the more believable it becomes. If every morning you wake up and you think, I am ugly, eventually your brain stops treating that like an opinion and starts filing it away as a fact. I'm awkward, fact. Nobody likes me, fact. I'm too old, fact. I'm not successful, fact. But none of those things were ever facts to begin with. They were just stories that you repeated so many times that your brain eventually stopped questioning them. And that's why negative self talk is so dangerous. You're literally training your brain to look for evidence that supports a belief that may not even be there. Here's something that completely shifted my perspective. So, one day, my therapist asked me a question that annoyed me at first. And it was just so simple, though. He said, would you ever speak to one of your friends the way you speak to yourself? And I laughed because, I mean, I honestly probably would be wilder and sassier and crazier to my friends. But like, the answer is no. Okay. If one of my friends came to me and said, like, I'm such a failure because I made one mistake at work today, I would never respond and be like, yeah, bitch, get your shit together. Like, I never say, like, yeah, you're probably right. You should probably give up. You should quit your job, never show your face there again, you dirty son of a bitch. Like, that's how I talk to myself sometimes. It's really kind of embarrassing saying it out loud. I feel like I'm blushing now. But if I was being serious, I would remind them of everything that they're doing well. That's what I do. I'm like, don't sweat it. I would tell them that like one bad day doesn't define an entire career. So like, why in the world am I giving compassion to everyone else except myself? And we all do it. That's the thing that always surprises me when I catch myself. Most of us are incredibly kind people. Hopefully, we encourage our friends. We celebrate other people's wins. We tell people, like, they're beautiful. Your outfit is great. You look good. Like, we remind them that they are capable. But then we walk into the bathroom, we look in the mirror again, and then we destroy ourselves. Could you imagine sitting down for coffee with your best friend and saying to them the things you say to yourself? Oh my god, imagine you go, "Wow, you look old today." Nobody's ever gonna love you like that. No, you are so behind in life. You should have accomplished way more by now, girl. Like, get your shit together. They would probably throw their latte at you, and honestly, that would be justified. Yet, we've normalized speaking to ourselves that way, and we would never accept that from another human being. So why do we accept it from ourselves? We also need to stop romanticizing self criticism because somewhere in this timeline of life, a lot of us started believing that being hard on ourselves was the reason we would become successful. We think if I let myself off the hook, I'll become lazy. But what I've discovered is that you can still hold yourself accountable without being cruel. There is a very big difference. Case in point, me taking a day off of podcasting and putting an episode out later. At first, I was cruel to myself. Like, I can acknowledge that I made a mistake, but I don't have to turn that mistake into my entire identity and think the whole world hates me. Like, I can say, I could have handled that better, but I'm not a terrible person, and that's growth. Self hatred does not motivate people nearly as well as self respect does. And one of my favorite examples of this is learning a new skill. When you think about a toddler who's learning to walk, right? They fall all the time. They got wobbly ass knees. They don't know where they're going. They fall hundreds of times. Imagine if every time they fell, someone walked over and says, "Wow, little baby, maybe walking just like isn't for you. Have you ever like considered just giving up?" Like, doesn't that sound absurd? Because we understand that falling is part of learning. But then when we're adults, trying new things once and then failing, immediately you decide that you're not talented enough. Like, we expect ourselves to master things instantly while forgetting that literally every skill we've ever developed required us to be extremely bad at it first. Unless you're a Leo who's good at everything. No, I'm just kidding. But like literally everything we suck at first and then it gets better. So here's your challenge this week. And this one can be uncomfortable, but that is also exactly the point. Every time you catch yourself having a negative thought about yourself, I want you to pause and ask one simple question. Would I say this to someone I love? And if the answer is no, then why are you saying it to yourself? And if the answer is yes, then you've got some deep digging to get to. But I guarantee you're going to start noticing just how unbelievably mean your inner dialogue has become. And once you notice it, you can start changing it. It is a hard habit to get into, but eventually, if you practice, you're going to clock it. The next time, hear my voice in your head. Would you say that to your friend? Would you say that to your bestie? Probably not. And this exercise is not about becoming unrealistically positive overnight because that's not the goal. The goal isn't replacing like I'm but ugly with I'm the most beautiful person who's ever lived. Not the goal. Your brain is not going to believe that anyway, right? The goal is moving towards something that feels honest instead of like if you say, I'm ugly today, I look busted. Maybe it's I'm learning to appreciate my body, or I'm learning that aging happens to all of us. Like instead of I'm a failure, maybe it's I'm still figuring this out. Instead of nobody likes me, maybe it's I'm feeling insecure or alone today. There is a difference. One is an attack, and the other is more of an observation. Because here is the truth. That voice inside your head is probably going to be with you for the rest of your life. You don't get to choose whether it exists, because if it exists, you exist. But you absolutely get to decide whether it becomes your biggest bully or your biggest supporter. And trust me, life is already hard enough. We got enough bullies. You do not need to spend time fighting the one person who's been with you since the very beginning, which is yourself. Part 3, body image and beauty standards. And I mean, a few other things. Now, it's time to talk about something that affects every single one of us, whether we admit it or even acknowledge or know it or not, which is body image. And again, don't roll your eyes at me, okay? Because you think this is about to become one of those everyone is beautiful speeches, but relax. That's not where I'm going. This isn't toxic positivity. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every morning I wake up and look in the mirror and I think, damn, Joshua, you magnificent ass specimen. Like, absolutely not. There are more times than not where I don't love the way I look, where I catch myself in the gym mirror under those fluorescent lights. Like, you know, the ones I hate fluorescent lights with a passion, but they make everyone look like they have not slept since 2018. Okay. But I go, like, wow, this lighting should be illegal. And then, I mean, then there's other times at other gyms that I'm feeling myself, right? But the difference now is that those thoughts that I have, those negative thoughts, do not get to dictate my entire day after I see myself in the mirror at the gym. They show up, I acknowledge them, I move on. Years ago, I would have carried that feeling until bedtime. And one of the hardest things about being alive today is that we've never had so many opportunities to compare ourselves to other people. And throughout most of human history, you compared yourself to maybe your classmates, your coworkers, or the people in your town. And now, before you have even brushed your teeth in the AM, I hope you're brushing your teeth. You've already seen a fitness influencer with an 8 pack, someone announcing that they're engaged in Santorini, and another person that is buying their dream home at an age that is a decade younger than you, and you're still renting an apartment. And then there's also someone who's apparently managed to build a 7 figure business overnight while also meal prepping and journaling and meditating and drinking green juice before 6 o'clock in the morning. Meanwhile, I'm like standing in my kitchen trying to remember why I'm standing in my kitchen and starting my coffee without putting a mug underneath it and also not even putting coffee in there. And it's just hot water running everywhere. Like that has happened multiple times because I got distracted halfway through walking to the kitchen through the hallway. Like it's absurd. Okay. We've accidentally turned comparison into a full-time job. I'm sitting there in the kitchen, like, why don't I have an 8 pack? Meanwhile, there's boiling water flowing all over the place. Now we're going to bring it to the queer community, the gay community, because it has its own unique relationship with body image. And as I've said, we all know I love our community. Genuinely, I do. It's creative, resilient, hilarious, and full of people who have built families out of friendships when the world told them that they did not belong. I feel like I need some beautiful music behind that little spiel. But I also think we need to be able to call ourselves out when something is not healthy. That goes with everything. You can love something but want it to be better. Sometimes it feels like we've replaced one impossible standard with another, right? Instead of trying to fit into these heterosexual expectations, we're trying to fit into gay expectations, which now currently is to be muscular and lean and young and stylish and have that great skin, perfect teeth, great hair, travel constantly. That's such a big thing. Drink expensive coffee, have a beautifully designed apartment with plants that somehow never die. Mine are all dead. Be effortlessly successful while pretending you're not even like trying that hard. It is so exhausting. And at some point, we have stopped asking, am I happy? And we started asking, am I impressive? And I, again, am guilty of that. When I'm going through what pictures I'm going to post from a trip, or I mean, my first thought, I'm gonna be real straight up with you guys. My first thought when I do go somewhere, I fly a lot more than most people do. Like that's a fact. But I'm like, I have to post it because A, I feel like I'm trying to keep up with the keep up. And I know that all these other gays are flying around. And I'm like, I need to show that I'm doing that too, that I'm keeping up with vacation, that I'm going on a plane, that I'm going somewhere fun. And I might be only going somewhere for, I don't know, what, 72 hours or something. And maybe it's all going on my credit card. Like it looks different than it actually is. Guilty, guilty, guilty. But my whole focus is, am I impressive? Does this look impressive? And I remember a few years ago when I first started spending more time on Instagram and dating apps. And at the time, I didn't realize how much they were quietly influencing the way that I saw myself. Still does, not quite as deep, but nobody sat me down and said, like, Josh, listen, you should start feeling insecure today. Okay. It happened slowly. It's not like I was scrolling along and it was like, Josh, you should feel bad about yourself. But like, if you scroll long enough, suddenly you start believing that everyone looks a certain way that you want to look, and it's not attainable to you. You think it's not attainable. Again, it's the abs. Everyone has abs. Everyone is 6'2". Everyone's lighting is perfect in every photo that they've ever taken. And here's the thing, again, that nobody talks about. We know it's edited. We know there are filters. We know people take 100 photos to post one. We know there's strategic posing, strategic lighting, Photoshop, Facetune, cosmetic procedures, hair transplants, Botox, fillers, Ozempic, and every other trick under the sun. We know all of that. And somehow my brain is still whispering at me like, "Yeah, but, like, why don't you look like that? Like, you're never gonna be hot." Like, it's amazing how emotion can overpower logic. And when it comes to the queer community, right, we spend so long hidden, so then when we finally come out and find that confidence, whether it's legit or not, we're, like, butt ass naked most of the time. We're in the gym working out, we're wearing Speedos, we're showing off our bodies, and then people like me who are I feel like I might be a little bit stunted in the sense that I didn't find that confidence too much later. There's people that are 25 that are so much more confident than me and run around in their little skimpies, and I'm like, "They look great. Why can't I do that?" Like, I've never even worn a Speedo in public. I just ordered one. I'm gonna wear it to the beach this weekend for the very first time, or next weekend. But, like, will I sleep 3 days before that? No, because I'm gonna be so paranoid and scared. But my point is, I forgot what my point is. I literally forgot what my point is, so we're just gonna get back on track here, okay? Oh, my point is that gay people are much more free when they come out because it's like an explosion. You're exploding out of the closet and you just want to let your freak flag fly and you're like so excited that you're out and that you're finally living your life and that manifests physically, right? So then when I'm going on Instagram and I'm seeing all of these gays that are so fit that are sharing all of these positive things about their life, rightfully so, celebrate it. It makes some of us feel bad or tell ourselves that we're never going to be like that. But again, it's all curated, it's edited. Like my pictures are edited. I do all the color grading. Like, do I remove the bags from under my eyes? Absolutely, I do. Like, you think I'm going to post that? No. Okay, let's get back on track now. My point is, we know that it's edited, right? Okay, but it's amazing how emotion can overpower logic. And one of the biggest lies I ever believed, totally bought into it, was what I now refer to as the when I am lie. And maybe you've told yourself this one before. It's like, when I lose 20 pounds, then I'll be confident. Or when I finally get abs, then I'll go to the beach without a shirt. Or when I make more money, then I'll feel successful. Or when I find a relationship, then I'll finally be happy. Or when I look like that guy on Instagram, blah, 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 blah. Like, that is the dangerous part, right? We convince ourselves that confidence lives somewhere in the future, and we treat happiness like it's waiting at the finish line of a race that is never going to end. And what I have learned after, especially working in fitness for years and being surrounded by incredibly fit people, there is always another finish line. Always. You lose the weight and now you want bigger shoulders. You build the shoulders. Now you want a bigger chest. You got your chest. Now you're worried about aging. So you fix your skin or you get facials or you get laser treatments. And then now you're worried about your hair. And then you find a boyfriend and now you're worried that he's going to leave. And it's never really about your body. It is about the belief that finally, right? Finally, you'll be enough. And the problem is that your confidence is built on changing yourself physically most of the time. You're never going to actually arrive because your brain just moves to the next goalpost. And sometimes that's okay though, right? Like I did a whole Balkan cut a few years ago where I gained, oh my God, I was like 20 pounds heavier than I am now, intentionally. I was like stuffing my face, lifting the heaviest weights I've ever lifted. And then I did a cut and I lost most of that, but I held on to the muscle. And like, I liked it. Wasn't a sustainable lifestyle. There was a point where I was like, oh, you're like too lean. I wasn't a fan of it, even though like you could see my muscles, whatever. And then my goal was, oh, I want to work on my shoulders. And now like I like where my shoulders are. Could they be bigger? Yes. But then I'm like, oh, I want to work on my upper chest. There's always going to be other things. But when it becomes an obsession and your negative talk, that's when it's not positive. We should always have goals. We should always be striving towards something, but not if it's, oh, once my shoulders are broader, then I'm going to be perfect and hot. Once the top of my chest is a little bit heavier, a little bit more filled out, then I'm going to feel confident. It's not a then. It's not a I will do this and then this will happen. So if the goalposts aren't constantly moving in a way that is preventing you from feeling confident, then great. But if the goalpost is moving because you think that your next goal is going to make you feel confident, that's where we run into some wishy washy areas. And one of the funniest things that I have discovered is that people we think are the most confident are not, right? And I think a lot of people realize that and know it and understand. And especially again, working in gyms has shattered that illusion for me. Like I've met unbelievably attractive people, right? Who are like so insecure. The guy with abs, the craziest abs you could wash your entire body on, wishes his arms were bigger. And the guy with huge arms is feels like he's too short. And the guy with the perfect hair is terrified of losing it. The influencer with 500,000 followers wonders why someone else has 1,000,000 follows. And insecurity doesn't magically disappear when you become conventionally attractive. It just finds something new to obsess over. And that's why chasing perfection is such a losing game. Perfection is a moving target designed to keep you running forever. And frankly, designed to keep clothing and fashion and hairstylists in business. Now, here's something that has changed my relationship with my own body. So, when I stopped asking, how does my body look? And I started asking, what does my body allow me to do? That is such a different conversation. My body lets me teach my fitness classes for 10 hours a week and then personal train another, I don't know, 12, 15 hours a week. And it allows me to push people beyond what they thought they were capable of. It lets me travel the world. It lets me dance, paint, hike, which I don't do that much anymore, record this podcast, hug people I love, walk my beautiful dog Brooklyn every day, just down the street because she doesn't like to walk that much. But my body isn't just something to be looked at. My body is the vehicle that is carrying me through my entire life. And imagine buying your dream car and spending every single day criticizing the paint job instead of appreciating where it's taking you and that it's your dream car. That's what so many of us do with our bodies. Now, don't get me wrong. There is absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to improve your health or get stronger. But that's literally what I do all day, every day. And I realize I'm doing it in fitness. I do it in, with the podcast, with some mental health stuff. I do it in my relationships with people. And I realize that I'm really, even in my marketing, what I'm doing is helping people create their vision, helping people create their optimal self, whether it is their body, whether it is their mindset, whether it is their business that they're trying to get to the next level. Like that's really what I've been doing, right? And because I do that for a living, I always tell my clients the exact same thing. that the motivation matters. Like, are you exercising because you hate your body or because you love it enough to take care of it? Like, those are very different journeys and they lead to completely different destinations. One is coming from punishment because you don't like yourself, and the other is coming from respect because you want to live a long, badass life. So, I have another challenge for you this week. And I think this one might be the most powerful exercise that we have done so far. And I'm not talking squats, okay? I want you to open Instagram or TikTok or whatever app steals your time for most of your day and unfollow one account. Just one. Not because they've done anything wrong, not because they're a bad person, but because every single time that they appear on your screen, you feel worse about yourself. And listen, I do this. I will scroll through, and if there's an account that I'm like, "Oh, why can't I look like that?" I will unfollow it. But if I see a guy who could look exactly the same, but his content is more motivational and makes me feel like, "Oh, I wanna meet that standard. I wanna work out. I wanna try that exercise," or something like that, then I'm not gonna unfollow it. So first, unfollow one account, unless it's hot air. Don't do that. Then ignore this exercise, okay? But then I want you to find someone who inspires you instead of intimidates you and follow them. It could be someone who teaches you something, someone who makes you laugh. I love Instagrams that make you laugh, comedians. Those are the ones I follow the most. We all need a little more laughter. Could be someone who reminds you to live instead of constantly measuring yourself against an impossible standard. Like, your social media feed is quite literally like your diet. It's your diet for your mind and your self worth sometimes. If you spend all day consuming things that make you feel inadequate, eventually your self esteem starts reflecting what you have been feeding it. Okay. And before we move on, I want you to remember something because I genuinely think somebody listening probably needs to hear this, maybe even myself. Your value has never been determined by your body fat percentage, ever. Not by your jawline or your age, your height, the size of your biceps, or how many messages are waiting for you on dating apps or in your DMs on Insta. Okay. Those things might change throughout your life, and they will. They will. But your worth doesn't change with them. The goal was never to become the most attractive person in the room, okay? That should not be the goal. The goal should be to always become the person who feels at home in their own skin, whatever that means to you. And I promise that's a much more beautiful way to live. Part four, stop chasing your life. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I have realized about myself. I have absolutely no idea how to relax. Okay. Seriously, my brain has approximately 700 tabs open at any given moment. Okay. I'm thinking about my next podcast episode, my next painting, a marketing campaign, a new fitness program, my website that needs to be updated, my relationship, my next trip, whether I remember to answer that email or not. I need to book my dog's nails to get cut. I have to bring my car in to get an oil change and get the tires rotated. I got to clean my apartment before my boyfriend comes and visits next week. Like, if I should start another business, not even kidding. Also, should I write another book or start a new book? Should I start a third, fourth, fifth podcast? Like, these are literally the things, I'm not joking, that instantly popped to my mind when I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning and then continued cycling through my brain on my drive to work. All of those things on my list, also the groceries and the things I need to get from the store. It never, ever ends. And then sometimes I get so overwhelmed by that that I just go, I'm not doing anything. Like yesterday, Monday, when I didn't record the pod, I sat around, I did nothing. I don't even know. I don't even think I watched TV. I literally sat there on my phone for most of the day. So I go from one extreme to another. But somewhere in the middle of all of those crazy thoughts, I forgot to ask myself one simple question. I'm like, Josh, are you enjoying your life? Because it is entirely possible to be taking all these steps and have this list of how to build the life that you've always wanted while you are way too busy or distracted to notice that you are already living that life. I think ambition is one of the greatest gifts that you can have. It pushes us to create and learn, grow, take risks. Like, I would not be who I am or where I am today if I was not ambitious. But ambition has a very dark side that we don't talk about quite enough. Like, it convinces you that your life is always waiting somewhere else, kind of the same theory of I'll be this when I somewhere just over the next hill. Like once you accomplish this, then you'll relax. Once you hit this income, then you'll be happy. Once your business takes off, then you'll take a vacation. Once you lose the weight, you'll buy the clothes. Once you find a relationship, then you're going to feel complete. Once your podcast goes viral, you are going to be laying back and like bathing in Mexico in the sun for a little bit. Like it's always once, 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 once. Once something becomes this, then something becomes that. Happiness keeps changing its address and forgetting to leave you a forwarding number. And unsurprisingly, psychologists have a name for this, and it's called the arrival fallacy. It's the belief that reaching the next milestone will permanently make you happy. And don't get me wrong, it absolutely feels good to accomplish things. I get excited when I finish a painting or start a new project or I see people connecting with hot air. But have you ever noticed how quickly those feelings fade? You work towards something for months, maybe years. You finally achieve it. You celebrate it for about 48 hours. And then your brain quietly leans over and whispers, like, okay, cool. What's next? Like, it's actually almost comical. We spend 90% of our lives climbing mountains and about 10 minutes standing on top before looking for another one. That's the ultimate metaphor. We go on a hike that could last 5 hours to take in the view for 10 minutes. And I remember thinking, if I just become a professional dancer, I'll feel like I've made it. Then I became a professional dancer. Then it was, if I can move to Los Angeles, then I will make it. Then I moved to LA. If I can become a fitness director, did that. If I can launch a podcast, did that too. If I can have my artwork in galleries, check, check, check. And the funny thing is, none of those moments magically transformed me into someone who never questioned himself again, because I do it all the time. There were incredible experiences, and I am grateful every single day for every single one of them, but they didn't suddenly unlock like this permanent happiness or unlimited income for that matter. Like happiness isn't waiting inside achievements. Achievements are little moments. Life is everything that is in between it. And again, social media, it's made it even worse because we are reminded constantly about all of these other people that are reaching these milestones. We could be like waiting to get engaged, and the clock's ticking. We see someone get engaged. We can be trying to save for that house. We see someone buy a house. You could be having trouble getting pregnant, and then you see someone having a baby, someone traveling to Greece, someone quit their job, someone launched a business, someone made $1 million before they turned 30. Like, good for them. Honestly, I'm happy for them. But if you're not careful, your brain is going to start treating everyone else's timeline like it is supposed to be your timeline. Suddenly, you're 35 wondering why you're not married, or you're 28 wondering why you don't own a property, or 40 wondering if it's too late to start over, or 50 or 60 wondering if you should even start that new project. Like, but who says who, right? Who made these rules that you can't do it whenever you want? Is there some committee that meets every Jan to decide whatever human on earth should accomplish by each birthday or each decade? Because if there is, I would like an invite to that committee, because I always remind myself Oprah didn't make it till she was like 42 or something like that. So there's still time. Okay. One of the greatest lies we've ever believed in life is that life is linear. There's one correct order. You graduate, you get the job, you find the partner, buy the house, have the kids, you retire. Like the reality is life is so messy. And some people find love at 20. Wonderful. Some find it at 60. Some people discover their dream career after getting fired. Some people become parents. Some don't. Some change careers 5,000 times. Some move across the world at 50. Some finally come out in their 70s. There is no universal timeline. There is only your timeline. And the sooner that you stop comparing your chapter 3 to somebody else's chapter 12, the sooner you'll actually start enjoying your own story. One of the big things here is money, finances. One of my clients who is very rich, loaded, 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 is 44. I'm 37. I'm about to be 38. Don't tell anyone. But I started being like, oh, he's like not that much older than me. And he has multiple homes around the world, pays me a shitload of money to train him. Like, fuck, I'm behind. But I don't know where he came from. I don't know if he came from money. I don't know if he just happened to win the fucking lottery. Like maybe he won the lottery. I don't know. But I stopped myself from going through that comparison thing, because you don't know people's history. You don't know how they got to their chapter 12 while you're still on your chapter 3. And so much of our lives, we spend that time looking backward or looking forward that we completely miss the only place where life is actually happening, which is right now. Okay. Half the time we're replaying these old conversations. We're regretting things that we said, wishing we made different decisions, wondering what would have happened if we dated that other person or took that other job. And the other half of the time, we're living 6 months in the future. We are planning, we are worrying, we are making lists, we're creating imaginary problems that haven't even happened yet. We become so obsessed with yesterday and so obsessed with tomorrow that today barely exists or even gets our attention. And listen, I do this all the time every time I'm on vacation, which is like I'll literally be standing in one of those most beautiful places in the world, and my brain will start planning my projects for next month or my work for my next month, or I'll finally, I don't know, finish something I've worked incredibly hard on and I'll celebrate it. But I'm also still thinking about what the next thing is that I should create. It's like we've trained ourselves to skip over the part where you just enjoy life. Like, why can't we just enjoy it? And you probably do it too. Like, maybe you've been so busy becoming the person that you want to be that you've forgotten to appreciate the person that you have already become. And I've been trying real hard to ground myself and do that lately. Enjoy where I am at. Now, I want you to imagine something for a second. It is exercise time. Imagine that you could go back 10 years and visit a younger version of yourself. Maybe you're 25, maybe you're 18, maybe you're 50. Like that younger version of you would probably look at your current life and be blown away by, I mean, at least some part of it. There would be something. They'd probably think, like, wait, we live here now, or we get to travel, or oh, we're healthy, or we actually started that business, or like maybe it's something much simpler, like we survived. Like, isn't that interesting? The version of you from 10 years ago is probably so proud of the things the current version of you barely even notices. Again, full body chills right now because you've become so accustomed to those things that 10 years ago you'd be ecstatic to have. So, your challenge this week, and I was going to say this might be one of the most important ones. I already said that, but like this is also very important. Everything on hot air is important. Okay. I want you to create what I am calling your enough list, not your bucket list. Okay. Not your goals for the year. We all have those already, most of us. I want a list of everything that's already enough, like enough love, enough friendship, enough health, enough memories, enough laughter, enough opportunities, enough growth. Like maybe your list says like I have people who answer the phone when I call. Like that's enough. A lot of people don't. Good for fucking you. I have a safe place to sleep. That's enough. A lot of people do not. I have a body that carries me through the day. That is enough. I have the ability to start over if I need to. That is enough. Because here's what I've learned. Gratitude does not kill ambition. That's a myth. If you've ever heard that, it's a myth. You can still chase incredible dreams while appreciating where you are standing. And that is something I am working on a lot lately. I get so caught up in manifesting what is for the future, in reaching for goals because I want more. Of course, I want more income. Of course, I want more freedom. Of course, I want my projects to be seen by more people. But I used to think that feeling gratitude for, oh, hot air is in the top 10% of all podcasts in the entire world. But that's only the top 300,000 podcasts that exist in the world. That thought process I used to think would prevent me from reaching heights, new heights. But when I kind of flip it and change that perspective a little bit and approach it from a lot of podcasts only do a few episodes. They usually all stop after 3. Some of them post podcasts and they get 0 listeners and people usually give up after about a month, right? And and so I'm going to celebrate and have gratitude for what I have accomplished while, of course, still reaching for the future. But my gratitude for now doesn't prevent me from reaching bigger goals. So yeah, you can still chase incredible dreams while appreciating where you're standing. You can still build a business while being grateful for the one that you already have. And you can still want relationship while loving the life that you've built on your own. And you can still work towards becoming stronger while appreciating the body that has gotten you this far. I always say a lot of people are in the ground. My best friend Lindsay from high school, she's dead. Okay. Everyone, spoiler alert. RIP, babe. But like, she's dead. We have all made it. If you're listening to this, you've made it a lot farther than she has. Not farther. Did I say farther? You've made it farther than she has. And just know she would laugh at that. She would laugh at everything I ever say about her. Now, the healthiest people that I have ever met are not the ones who have stopped dreaming, but they are the ones who learned how to celebrate today without putting their entire happiness on layaway until tomorrow. Part 5. Date yourself first. Now, can we all agree that dating is absolutely unhinged now? Like, I don't know what happened, and somewhere between meeting people organically and swiping on strangers while sitting on the toilet, we have completely lost the plot. We have more ways to connect than at any other point in human history, and somehow loneliness is at an all-time high. Like, come on, the apps we have, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, Grinder, Scrap. I mean, like, if aliens landed tomorrow, I hope they do, they'd probably assume that humans spent their entire existence trying to find someone to have brunch with. Just some one random person. Yet, despite all of these options, so many people are walking around feeling like they are not enough because somebody they've never even met didn't respond to a message. And I've been there, right? I think most of us have. You send someone a message, they don't reply, and suddenly your brain starts connecting dots that don't even exist. You think maybe I'm not attractive enough, maybe I'm old, maybe I'm too short, maybe I should have said something funnier. It's amazing how quickly we allow complete strangers to become the judges of our worth. Think about how ridiculous that actually is. Like, you are letting someone who knows approximately 12 photos and two-line bios about you decide how you feel about yourself. That's like letting someone review a movie after watching the trailer. But we hand that power over, don't we? One of the biggest mistakes that we make is believing that finding someone else will finally fix the relationship we have with ourselves. Like, we tell ourselves all the time, if you're single, like, you say, once I meet the right person, I'm gonna finally feel loved. But like, here's the thing, okay? If you don't believe that you're lovable before the relationship, you'll spend the entire relationship looking for evidence that the other person is gonna leave. You'll overthink the texts, you'll question the compliments, you'll assume the worst during every disagreement. And not because your partner is necessarily doing anything wrong, but because you've brought your own insecurities into the relationship. Relationships don't magically erase insecurity, though, okay? They usually expose it. And like, I've seen a lot of things lately that are like, you don't have to be fully healed to find love. And that is 100% correct. I'm pretty sure I've said that before on this podcast. I think it's important to be on your healing journey, but like, you're not going to all of a sudden be, you're going to think you're complete. You're going to think you're healed. You're going to think everything's hunky dory. And then all of a sudden you're going to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Like, that's not how it works. And all those insecurities, they will still pop up. All those issues, over analyzing a text, that's still going to pop up, but in a different way. Just because I feel like I'm in a secure, loving relationship currently doesn't mean I don't overanalyze a text sometimes. Like, come on, I'm still human. Motherfucker. Now, one of the healthiest shifts that I've ever made was realizing that my relationship with myself sets the standard for every other relationship in my life. Again, think about that, okay? If I constantly cancel on myself and ignore my needs, criticize myself, never celebrate my wins, never rest, never forgive myself, why would I expect someone else to treat me differently? We teach people how to love us by the way we love ourselves. And that is a hard pill to swallow. Sometimes it's very subconscious too, okay? Like, it means we actually have more control than we think. So, another question from therapy that completely changed the way that I think about self love is, if you were dating yourself, would you want a second date? There were times when I wouldn't. I would not, right? But seriously, like, Imagine you are your own boyfriend or girlfriend, or you're your own person you're going on a date with. Would you enjoy spending time with you? That's a valid question. Would you trust you? Would you feel supported by you? Would you feel safe with you? Would you feel encouraged by you? Or would you constantly feel criticized? Because listen, some of us are incredible partners to everyone else except ourselves. We would never dream of speaking to someone we love the way that we speak to ourselves. Imagine your partner came home excited because they got a promotion, and your response was like, well, it probably wasn't that competitive anyway. We all do that. Oh, we got the job. And then you think, well, I wonder how many people were in the running. Maybe they didn't have a lot of people apply. You wouldn't say that to your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife or whomever, or bestie, when they tell you they got a new job. You wouldn't go, well, maybe there wasn't a lot of people that applied, right? They would dump your ass or end your friendship. Like, that's a hard no. And another example, imagine they got dressed for dinner and asked you how they looked, and you said, you could definitely lose 10 pounds. Like we say to ourselves all the time, we might grab on our waist, our little love handles. You would not do that. Relationship over. Yet those are the kinds of comments some of us quietly and not so quietly make to ourselves every single day. I have realized over the last few years that my confidence isn't built during really big moments. It's built through smaller, tiny little promises. Like every single time you tell yourself that you're going to go for a walk and then you actually go, you're building trust with yourself. And every time you say that you're going to start that project, you're going to start that podcast, you're going to start that painting, and you do it, you are building trust. And every time you keep a boundary, instead of people pleasing and letting bitches walk all over you, you're building trust. We always talk about trust as something you earn with other people, but we almost never talk about earning trust with ourselves. That's deep, right? I think that's where confidence actually comes from. Confidence is not believing that you're never going to fail. Confidence is believing that no matter what happens to you, you are going to show up for yourself the way you would show up for your friends or your partner or your family. I also think we need to stop waiting for someone else to validate the life that we are already living. I hear people say things all the time like, "I don't wanna go to that restaurant alone." I do that too sometimes, like, but why? "I don't wanna travel alone." I travel alone all the time, preferred, but a lot of people don't, but why? "I don't wanna see that movie alone." I go to the Damn, now that I'm saying this, I'm like, I do a lot of this stuff alone. I go to movies alone all the time, but most people don't, right? Who made being alone synonymous with being lonely? Some of the happiest moments of my life have happened when I was by myself, right? Walking around a city with no plan, like going to fucking Greece and going to dinner by myself and being taken to the most beautiful table that overlooked the Acropolis at nighttime and just having wine shoved in my face. Like, beautiful, perfect. I didn't need anybody else there. I did look around and I was like, there's a lot of people here. This is my first big trip alone. So I was still adjusting to traveling alone, but there's a lot of people with friends and family. And so that made me be like, I have no one. But then I looked up at these ancient fucking Greek ruins and was like, bitch, you done did this for yourself. And it's okay to do stuff by yourself. I went and saw Evil Dead by myself the other day because I wanted to see it. I am not going to wait for other people so that I can take the risks or the trips or the little day dates that I take myself on. I'm not waiting for anybody so that I can experience life. Like, I absolutely love taking myself out for lunch if I'm in another city by myself. Like, those moments taught me something that is so important. If you are constantly waiting for another person to start living your life, you are handing them way too much power. You're giving power to sometimes somebody who doesn't even exist. You have the power, okay? Okay, but before anyone misunderstands me, this isn't me saying that you should just want to be alone forever, right? I love love. Genuinely do. Relationships can be wonderful and beautiful. Healthy relationships can help us grow in ways we never imagined, but they should add to an already fulfilling life, not become the entire foundation of it. Your partner should be a chapter in your story, not the author of your happiness. Again, deep. I'm so deep today. There is another trap that I think we fall into, especially with the queer community. We sometimes mistake attention for love. Getting messages on dating apps feels good for about 5 minutes. Someone calling you attractive feels good. Of course, getting compliments feels good, but validation is like drinking salt water, okay? The more you rely on it, the thirstier you become. You are thirsty, bitch, because now you need another compliment. You need another match, another like, another message. Real confidence doesn't come from constantly asking the world, like, do you think I'm enough? It comes from answering that question yourself. So, I have another challenge for you this week. And some of you are going to hate it. And you're probably tired of me asking you to challenge yourself, which, if you hate it, probably means you need it, right? I want you to take yourself on a date. I'm going to do it. I will do it with you this week. Take yourself on a date, an actual date. Go somewhere you would genuinely enjoy. You just go get a coffee. Maybe you go walk through a bookstore, visit a museum, sit by the ocean if you're coastal, take yourself to lunch, leave your headphones at home, put your phone in your pocket, just spend an hour with yourself. And again, I have full body chills. When that happens, it means I'm saying something that is real and resonates with me. Because I do this a lot, but more so out of instinct. Like I don't take myself to dinner. So maybe I will do that. Maybe that will be my challenge to take myself to dinner this week. But pay attention to something while you're doing this, okay? Are you comfortable in your own company? Or do you immediately start reaching for distractions like your phone? Because learning to enjoy your own presence might be one of the greatest gifts that you will ever give yourself. And I want you to leave that date with one question in mind. If nobody else ever told me I was worthy again, what evidence do I already have that I am worthy? Maybe it's the way that you survive things that should have broken you. And maybe it's the kindness you've shown other people. Maybe it's your creativity, your resilience, curiosity, ability to keep getting back up after life knocks you down because life is hard. Those things don't disappear because someone didn't text you back. And here's what I know for sure: the longest relationship that you are ever going to have is the one that you have with yourself. Every other one, every other relationship will come and go. Friends will move away. Partners may stay forever, or they might not. Jobs change, cities change, bodies change, but you wake up with yourself every single morning and you go to bed with yourself every single night. So maybe instead of spending your whole life trying to become someone that everybody else would choose, it's time to become someone that you would choose every single fucking day. Again, full body chills. I actually feel kind of emotional. How am I making myself emotional on my podcast? That's hilarious. But if there's one thing that I want you guys to take away from today's episode, it is this: self love is not something that you magically wake up with one morning, okay? It isn't a personality trait. It isn't reserved for people who have perfect bodies or perfect relationships or what we think is perfect because of Instagram, right? Self love is a practice. It's the way that you speak to yourself after you make a mistake. It's the promises that you keep with yourself. It's choosing to stop comparing your life to everyone else's highlight reel on the gram. It's appreciating the body that carries you through this life instead of constantly punishing it for not looking a way that you think it should look based on what the world has told you. And it is realizing that your worth has never been determined by your appearance, your age, your bank account, your relationship status, or the opinions of strangers on the internet. I also hope that you remember that life is not waiting for you somewhere in the future. It is not hiding behind 10 more pounds lost or another promotion, a bigger house, or the perfect partner. Like your life is literally happening right now, okay? Today, in this moment. And you deserve to actually experience it instead of constantly chasing the next version of yourself. Like keep dreaming, keep growing, keep setting goals, but don't forget to celebrate the person that you've already become because I promise you, the younger version of yourself would be incredibly proud of where you are today. I should have counted. I should have a take a shot every time I get full body chills on this episode. Okay, if this resonated with you, you know I'd love to hear about it. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Under Hot Air Pod. Slide into my DMs if you want to. Like, Did you try any of these exercise? Did they shift your mindset? If not, I don't know what to tell you. Head on over to my website, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com, to shop my merch, submit your listener stories, and topic suggestions. And thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. Like, just be nice to yourself this week. Don't beat yourself up because you're putting a podcast episode out a day later. Like, sometimes you got to chill, okay? Shift your mindset a little bit. Give yourself the same grace that you so freely give to everyone else all the time. Date yourself, love yourself, treat yourself how you treat your bestie, okay? And I will see you next Tuesday.
Hotair, hot takes therapy, no filter. Say what I mean. Hotair, let's be real. You're listening to Hot Air.